In KeyForge, there are some pretty weird cards. Thankfully, a lot of these weird cards are rare, so we don't see them very often. But when we do encounter these cards in the deck, they can make us ask, what the heck is this thing? I've handpicked from the over 1,400 cards in the game, 8 of the weirdest cards out there to discuss and analyze. Whether they're super conditional or their effect just doesn't make much sense, this video will cover 8 cards that I thought were among the weirdest. The first card I want to look at is General Sherman, a massive 10 power unfathomable creature that reads, General Sherman deals no damage when fighting. Play, purge each other creature. If General Sherman leaves play, return to play each creature purged this way, exhausted and under its owner's control. This play effect is explosive, and I had a double take the first time I read it. If things are getting out of control and you need a quick way to reset the board, General Sherman can take care of that for you by literally just purging every creature out there. And his 10 power makes him a challenge to get rid of, especially since every creature is gone off the board unless the opponent has some sort of direct removal. But General Sherman is certainly a weird one, with the 10 power and the wild play effect, and the fact that this giant sea creature is apparently a general. Very strange indeed. Next up is Ozmo Martianologist, a Logos creature from Call of the Archons and Age of Ascension, who's elusive and reads, Fight, Reap, heal 3 damage from a Mars creature, or stun a Mars creature. Sure, Ozmo offers you a choice whenever you fight or reap with him, which can often be quite versatile, but both of the choices are so incredibly situational. Since he interacts exclusively with Mars creatures, if neither you nor the opponent have House Mars in their deck, he just ends up being practically useless. And neither of the effects he offers in terms of Mars creatures are that great either. Healing 3 damage is pretty lame most of the time, and stunning is pretty mid, and is useless if the opponent doesn't have any Mars creatures. Yeah, Ozmo is a weird one, and I'm glad he's a rare since his house exclusive capabilities are just not great at all. The third of these cards is Lesser Oxtet. This is a disc creature that only appeared in Worlds Collide. It has elusive and reads, Play, purge each card in your hand. Reap, keys cost +3 during your opponent's next turn. For me, Lesser Oxtet often just gets discarded because I really don't want to purge any of the cards in my hand. Usually the only time I'll play him out is when I have a full hand of only discards, so I'll play him out last and nothing gets purged, or if I have a hand of 5 discards or something. His reap ability is pretty nice for sure, but that elusive is just rarely enough to protect him, because he's such low power. It just really sucks to purge your own cards out of your own hand just to play out a creature that will most likely be gone within the next turn or two, giving you very little opportunity to actually use him. Next up is an Age of Ascension upgrade from House Mars, a truly strange one called the Killzord Mk 9001. This thing reads, this creature gets +2 armor and +2 power. This creature gains Skirmish and Fight, gain 1 chain. Now, giving a creature 2 extra armor and power, and Skirmish on top of that with no conditions just by playing an upgrade on it is pretty fantastic. Usually cards with similar effects, such as Staunch Knight or Shoulder Armor, require the creature to be on flank or something. But Killzord, you just pop it on a creature and it's good to go. But it's the fight effect that really gets to me, that of gaining 1 chain. That's such an odd effect to have, and forces you to question every time you fight with that creature, whether it's worth it to fight and gain an entire chain just for doing so. Definitely one of the weirder upgrades I've seen, and I wonder if it'll return for Winds of Exchange. So far, besides Killzord Mk 9001, we've had only creatures in this list. Our next card, however, is an action card from House Unfathomable, Thalassophobia. You get an Ember when you play it, and it reads, discard the top 10 cards of your opponent's deck. My jaw dropped when I first read the effect this card provides, but in the end, I think that's about all this card is really meant to do. The shock value of this card is enormous. Discarding 10 whole cards off the top of the opponent's deck is a huge effect. However, this could really go either way when you play it. Sure, you could end up discarding key combo pieces from their deck, but you could also be getting them 10 cards closer to those key combo pieces. In addition, you're also getting your opponent through their deck faster, which can also lend itself to their advantage in some situations. Thalassophobia's effect is certainly pretty great against decks that require specific pieces, such as Genka decks, and it also adds variance to the opponent's game plan that they probably don't want. I think this card probably operates best with other cards that can combo with it, like Brain Drain. Thalassophobia's shocking effect can have its drawbacks, but it's still a weird and exciting effect for sure. The 7th card is an untamed creature from Dark Tidings, the Aemberfin Shark. It reads, play, give Aemberfin Shark 3 +1 power counters. At the end of your turn, remove a +1 power counter from Aemberfin Shark. If you do, each player gains 1 Ember. This effect is extremely disappointing if I'm being honest. I never want to play out a creature that gives my opponent free Ember. And the creature itself isn't even that impressive. It starts out at 6 power, then proceeds to lose that power turn after turn. I could see this card comboing well with other Untamed cards, like Waste Not or Embermancy, but besides that, Aemberfin Shark just seems like a really lame and poorly designed creature. I'm not a fan. The last card for this list is definitely a weird one, and that is Nepeta Gigantica. This is an Untamed artifact from Worlds Collide that reads Action. Stun a creature with power 5 or higher, or stun a giant creature. First off, stunning is not an Untamed trait at all. In fact, there are only 4 Untamed cards in the entire game that stun, so it's something that hardly gets used in the Untamed toolbox. Secondly, the conditions on this card are simply ridiculous. This card pretty much exists exclusively to stun Brobnar creatures, so if those don't exist in the opponent's deck, or they just have a bunch of really small creatures, this card is rendered completely useless. You don't even get an Ember for playing it, which is shocking and makes it even worse as a card. Nepeta Gigantica gets a lot of flack for being such a weird and awful card, and I can definitely see why. So, those are 8 cards that I thought were pretty weird and funky, and I thought would be interesting to talk about. As I said before, all 8 of these cards are rare, thankfully, so it's not like you're going to see them very often, if at all. Despite many of them having very house-exclusive effects, or effects that really just exist for their shock value, they're still usually pretty cool cards, and are fun to see when you open the deck. Let me know what you guys think about these cards, and if you can think of any cards that are just as weird or weirder than these ones. Thank you all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you all again in the next one. See you later.